Hello, welcome back to the channel. I am Tavares, and I'm going to be doing a kind of a short mini series, just trying to figure out exactly what kinds of practice you can do in Smash Ultimate and get the most out of it. I'm going to use every form of practice throughout this mini series so you can see what you can do, what the pros and the cons are, and go through it all. And by the end of the series, I'm going to be talking about the top 3 best ways to practice Smash Ultimate. First, I'm going to be going over solo practice in this video. If you want to see more videos like this or even just more content in general, please make sure to like and comment what you like about these kind of series or anything you want to see. I watch and read every single comment, so I would really appreciate it. But first, we're going to be talking about solo practice today. And first, we're going to be talking about the lab. So, the lab in Smash Ultimate is pretty limited, honestly. Without mods is what I'm going to mostly be talking about, because if I start talking about mods, then we have to talk about how to get them, and it's a little bit of a weird thing. When it comes to practicing in the lab, the best thing you can always do is work on your fundamentals, and that's the great thing about the lab. You can work on your consistency, you can work on your movement, your small inputs that you're trying to do, short hopping, fast falling, and just moving around with your character, and it's accessible anytime you want. You know, you can do it at middle of the night, in the middle of the morning, or anytime you'd like, just hop in. The problem really stems from the actual Smash Ultimate lab. It's extremely limited within Smash itself. There's no direction other than a few hints that Smash likes to give you, and to be honest, it's kind of boring. A lot of people just don't want to be sitting here for like 30 minutes every day doing the kind of just these things, especially if you've gotten super good or you've played for a super long time. But I still think the accessibility is a pretty good thing about the lab. You can always just practice doing your basic combos, your bread and butters, or things like that, and it's not that bad. So for the Mario players, the ones that I always try to teach first are just trying to do your up throw combos for up throw down air, or your down throw combos or down throw up air, but down throw up air around 35%, and just practicing your moving with Mario. You know, you have a lot of great movement tools that are good for mix-ups. You know, using flood cancel is really important. Spacing your down tilt or just turn around down tilts, dash in F tilts, forward smashes, smash attacks, reverse up smashes. He's not that complicated, but he can be really weird to first entry in because you need to turn around, do a lot of his best moves, especially back air, which is really good in neutral. Just sitting down and practicing that, practicing different heights for it, can be really important. That's just something I would use the lab for. So I think while the lab has its merits, the cons are something to keep in mind. Right, and the next thing we're going to be talking about when it comes to solo practice is VOD reviewing. VOD reviewing yourself, VOD reviewing top players, local players, or just other people who play your character. I tend to do it a lot when it comes to watching Kurama and Dark Wizzy, who are considered the top 2 best Mario players in the world right now. But you can do it with any kind of player. I think there's a lot to learn from just any type of just aggressive, defensive, how much they want to move in, what moves are they using in neutral, all that stuff. I think it's really good at understanding holes in your gameplay, if not the best way to understand holes in your gameplay. Great way for you to get ideas from other players without having to be there, and you can do it anytime, any place, as long as the VOD exists for your character. That's really one of the cons I can find, though, is rarely player characters just get less VODs to watch. You know, you're not going to have a ton of Incineroars at top level. You're really going to be watching only SkyJ, and even worse, it's like if it's a player not doing that well or character not doing that well, like I don't know where you're going to get Ganondorf VODs if you're trying to play Ganondorf. And it can be just really tough. You're going to have to really search for it. I suggest just going to character discords and trying to look for VODs, or even just try to look it up on YouTube and see what you can find. Sometimes it's just you're not going to find a top player of the character, but that can be fine. You can be the top player of the character and try to push the character yourself. You just really want to get ideas and see what you can do when you're trying to watch other players. When you're watching yourself, the hole can still be found. But that's the other thing, though. When it comes to finding the holes, you have to have the mind for it, which not everyone does have the mind for it. It can be made up for by just asking others to review with you or asking a coach to review with you, and it can be kind of tough to have that accessibility of always having to get a coach or pay for a coach of that kind of thing. But it's still important to VOD review. I think it's a really strong thing. It's just not the easiest thing to get into, and a lot of people tend to be just watching, not really knowing what to look for or knowing what to improve. So I think VAR reviewing really works best when you have someone who VAR reviews a lot, or just people near you who will VAR review with you and can help you out in the more difficult aspects of the game, like neutral and mentality and things like that. And finally, we're going to be talking about playing against computers on your own. Now, I know what a lot of people usually think when they hear playing against computers. It's a really bad way. And that's why I'm usually going to talk about the cons first. Even at level 9, computers just react to your inputs to try to just beat you with air dodges or spot dodges or whatever they can. And they're not going to simulate exactly how players will play. But I do truly believe that when you're first getting into the game, it is the fastest way to learn what characters do and how they interact at a very basic level. You can learn how your character moves, how the other character moves, what moves they all have. Like, just things like that can be very valuable for a newer player. Sure, you could just try to fight other players all the time, but you know, it's like they already have a good idea, especially if they've been playing for a long time, and just beat you up without you knowing what's going on. This is just a very accessible way for newcomers to just see what the characters do and how they move around. So I don't think it has no merit to do that. It won't really give you a realistic idea of how the characters play most of the time. It's really easy to develop bad habits if it's used for too long or too much, but it's accessible anytime you want, and it's a good way to figure out if how characters work and how the game works. I think, like, when I first got into Smash, I definitely tried using computers just to see what the characters did. You know, you see how bad that DI is from Bowser Jr. That's not going to work on Bowser Jr. and knows what they're doing. And, you know, there's lots of combos that, while going to be true on anybody, that you can tell from computers that if they work on level 9, that it is more possible to be true than if it's not a level, if they air dodge out, because most level 9 characters are going to air dodge no matter what if the combo is not real. But, you know, I still think that while playing computers can build bad habits, it still has a good amount of uses, especially if you're just trying to just test some things out, practice your timings on their recoveries, or just combo them basically. Use it at a very basic level and you can find a lot of use for them. Overall though, the thing about solo practice is that there's only so much you can do with it, and I think of all three of these options, VAR reviewing is probably the most useful, but you still have to go out and play other people to actually get mods to actually review yourself. I think while the lab is very, very good at just keeping your consistency of your fundamentals, you're going to get to a point where you're going to need game sense. You're going to need to learn how players play, how to counter common situations. This is the stuff that solo practice doesn't really cover, but it is needed so you can work on your fundamentals, so you can go out there and have your tools ready to face other players. I think it just has its place, even if it's not the strongest thing making you improve exponentially. It still has its place to make you improve your consistency and make you play the best you can whenever you go into tournaments. Thank you guys for watching, and we're going to see the local practice next video.